Yes, thank you for reminding me. I don't know why I keep forgetting that. So, anyway, so any other questions about the common threads without me repeating myself?
Repeat yourself.
I'm I'm not going to go through the whole diatribe again, but I would definitely look at the common threads as that not one fundamental is going to be attributed to
No.
each of the fundamentals, okay, or to
Well,
each of the common threads. We
yes.
we have to be we have to be cognizant of the fact that all the blends, because these are all blends, that we're using all the fundamentals at one point in time or the other, and that we can tackle changes in a person's skiing by looking at, we look at the common threads as a guideposts of what we would like to see in good skiing, but we could tackle any of those pieces through any of the fundamentals. Does that make sense?
Well, so which one takes priority? Do you tackle the common threads or do you tackle the fundamentals
Oh, well, in order for
first?
us, that's a very, very good question. The common threads are a 5,000 foot view. This is how it's been described to me. It's a 5,000 square foot view, right? It's an overarching view of this particular skier. So, for instance, I have Chris Cruz up here, and he's doing some very, very good basic parallel medium radius turns, right? They're almost like medium radius performance turns. Okay. And I'm looking at him immediately and I'm going, well, he's guiding both skis into the turn. There's definitely a top of the turn and a bottom of the turn. He's definitely using flexion and extension movements that allow him to control how his center of mass aligns over the new skis, the new outside ski. I definitely seeing a lot of upper body stability, which allows him to be more mobile with his arms and his legs. Right? Those are, so I'm just going through all the pieces and saying, hey, these are the things that constitute what good skiing is. I'm going to say, hey, this is, from his particular standpoint, those are really, really good turns. So I could pick any of those. Now, for me to institute a change, if I need to change the performance in this particular way, and when you're at this level, it's about timing, about the dirt. It really is about the dirt. I have to look at it and say, okay, from a fundamental standpoint, I would like to see a little more early tipping with his lower legs at the top of the turn. That would allow him to shape the turn a little bit more because sometimes at some of those turns he tends to spin out at the top. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But I'm now pointing at a particular fundamental, which is what we have to do when we're doing our MA and our teaches, right? I'm looking at this fundamental or I'm looking at a pair of fundamentals and how do they interact? That's going to institute the change that I want to see in this particular skier.
But start
I would encourage
with
you,
the
and
high.
this is the direction that PSI wants us to go, is use the common threads as a guidepost to help us develop a look, you know, of what we want to see. And then we can pinpoint down on what the individual changes are. Does that make sense, Rebecca? Yes? No? Did I
Muted.
interrupt
Yes,
you?
yes, yes.
Okay. So I did all of those things. I
Sorry, I was
interrupted you
muted.
too. I'm sorry. That's why we need to kind of start looking at the common threads in our MA. Because in this particular skier, right? I mean, it's so subtle. That's a really good turn. That's a really good turn. That one's a little spinny. That one's definitely very spinny, right? So he's got some that he's kind of showing all the time, but the guiding of the turn, guiding at the top of the turn, I think would be something that we'd like to see a little bit more controlled, even though this is really, really good skiing. And I'd like to see him tip the lower legs earlier in the turn to allow him to do that. And then we would go play with some things, that would help him with that timing. And that's from an RMT standpoint. Any questions?
So you had said this was basic parallel, but then really performance.
Well,
We're,
it looks
we're
like
supposed
there
to,
towards the end, it's a little bit more performance-y, isn't it?
yeah, because it seemed like if we're supposed to do a basic parallel, then we're supposed to do a medium radius dynamic is what they call it in our at the level 2. To
Yeah,
me, would count as medium radius dynamic. I
it is
can't.
medium radius
Okay.
dynamic. The only
Okay.
real difference between basic parallel and medium radius dynamic is speed and performance.
What do you mean performance?
Well, you're going to have to adjust your performance to accommodate the speed, right? Because
Okay.
you're going to be going faster.
Right.
So, and in the basic parallel, that's up to like blue terrain.
Right.
But medium radius could be blue, black, or even black terrain, depending on the level.
Okay.
But this is in blue terrain, it looks like.
It looks like blue terrain. This looks very much like North Star, actually, which could be almost considered blue black. It's pretty freaking good skiing, right? Which is why I picked it.
Gumby, I'm gonna ask one more question. You were saying that in these bottom turns, he gets a little spinny.
Yeah, just a little loose at the top of the turn. It's
What?
incredibly subtle, Laura. Don't get too hung up on it. All right.
Okay, good. Because well,
That's,
what do you, when
that's
you
me trying to like, okay,
Right.
if somebody was putting a gun to my head and said, "Hey, how would you make a change to this particular person skiing?"
right?
And I'd be like, "Well, for the most part, I don't want to touch it, right?
Yeah.
Because it's pretty freaking good.
Right.
But if I had to, I'd be like, let's a little bit more control at the top of the turn."
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So don't don't get don't go, oh my God, you know.
Right. No.
I don't
Yeah.
really see it. That's not a point.
But something like that would pass the level 3 ski, right?
Oh,
This-
that would crush the level 3 ski,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. That's and even the RMT level, that's going to be really, really good. But when we're in the RMT, as I start through the process of RMT, I have to be more cognizant of how everything changes according to dirt, and that there always is something that we can kind of play with. But we're not really like trying to make and institute a giant change anymore. Now we're just like, can you be more versatile and adaptable? And that would be the only thing I would do with this kind of scheme. All right, cool. Any other questions before we move on? Because I got a few questions for you guys. All right.
No, as long as I don't have to ski like this on my level 2, I'm good.
No, you don't have to ski like this on your level 2. You should ski pretty damn good though.
It wouldn't hurt.
Right.
I haven't seen you in a couple weeks, Saskia. I'll be out there next weekend. When's your exam again?
9, 10, and 11 is when Laura and I are doing it.
Oh, okay. So like the Monday after next? No, it's like a Thursday, isn't it?
Wednesday, yeah, it's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So not
All
this
right.
upcoming week, the week after.
And you're not going to do anything on Tuesday, right? You're going to stay home and you're just going to drink mint tea and watch terrible
Watch
movies.
skiing videos. That's right. Yeah.
Good. All right, cool. What do you guys want to talk about this summer?
Skiing.
Why, thank you. Spoken like a true 5-year-old.
Oh, hey, Chuck. Here's mine.
Yeah.
So I was training our level 1 candidates this
Mhm.
year.
My apologies.
They were
Sure
not as successful as I would have liked them to been. And that is because you touched upon it, the change happening here in the East. You mentioned Waterville Valley. I think that's endemic throughout this division. And I think the level of scrutiny went up. I would like to not only work on MA with them, but I'd like to. One of the things that they struggled on with was their own personal skiing.
Sure.
So I'd like to get ideas on how I can help them, not only in the MA and the teaching portion, but on their own personal skiing.
Okay. That's actually would be an interesting topic, wouldn't it? How can we get them to get buy-in, right? Is that what you're kind of asking?
A bit of it is buy-in. A bit of it is buy-in. And I know you can't change in the summer.
Yeah.
Unless you go to New Jersey.
Unless I take them to New Jersey, but they're not going to do that. But
Right.
what are the things, even if it's a paper exercise, what can we do that will help them during the summer to be more successful in the winter?
Watch great skiing.
Well, but also maybe how do we improve our own physical muscular activities so that we
Sure.
are better prepared? And I think that may be something that all of us could use is maybe how do we get our own bodies prepared for the winter
Super good.
during the summer?
More beer.
So zero,
my So my
zero,
interest is in making sure that my feet move quickly. And during the summer, I'm going to do rollerblading in a
Yeah.
hockey rink and place obstacles, cones that I ski around, either as gates or moguls. And then, of course, go to big snow. But my own personal skiing, I need to improve speed and I need to be more dynamic. I tend to be slower and accurate, but I need to be faster and I need to be inspirational and dynamic.
Cool.
So those are my own personal goals.
All right.
I
That might
like
be
what
that's a good topic too. Inspirational.
see.
We kind of talked about that a little bit last year, but that was kind of like one of our RMT group was really kind of pushing what is inspirational skiing.
I think like what AJ was saying is really cool about not just for level ones, but like for ourselves developing a language on what we're working on in our own skiing. It's like practice talking about that, like examples of that would be helpful.
Okay.
And then what I'd like to work on, my idea is I would like help with prescription for change. So it's easy to pick apart someone skiing and then we say, oh, we'll go do a couple of things and then change it. But sometimes we don't get to really drill that part down on
Yeah.
the Zoom talk calls. So that would be good to think about this summer.
Okay. Prescription for change. Cool.
Okay, I think that's great, and that's actually why one of the reasons, in part, I'll admit, a little bit on the selfish side, is I'm training our level ones is because it helps me for level 3. And
Yeah.
so I think it would be good to make sure that a couple of things. One, that we're progressing in a logical manner and we're describing things so that people pick up what we put down. So I like the way you are going with it.
Yeah, I agree. I think that'd be helpful.
Cool. Anybody else?
Mike's got his hand up.
Who does? Mike?
I'm not showing. I don't understand.
Mike's such a nice guy. He plays by the rules all the time. Silly person.
Stupid me. I'm sorry. I like a lot of the concepts you guys are bringing up. I actually think many of those concepts would be better served late summer into early fall before people start getting on snow. I'm going to throw out a suggestion, and you guys can chuck it if you want. And this is just from listening to people, but for us to really make changes in our skiing, we have to affect our personal understanding. And I'm going to suggest that through the meat part of the summer, the main part of the summer, a focus is made to look at some of the theory and the physics and how the fundamentals, which are body movements, affect the ski performance, and how that ski performance aligns with the physics of what we're trying to do with the skis, and actually try to really clarify our own ideas and concepts and understanding of what a particular movement is, why this movement works, why this movement doesn't work, what parts of my body actually have to be engaged to make a movement work. It isn't all singular. There's a lot of little pieces going on in there. And we can throw movement patterns out to our level 1, level 2, level 3 people. Chuck and I could throw movement patterns out to you guys, but until there's an actual change in the in your individual understandings, those movement patterns are not going to make a lot of sense, and you're just going to be really going through the motions.
I think that's a great idea, because the more we understand, the simpler things get.
Honestly, that's kind of what I was trying to do earlier in the year. Earlier this in January was wanted to have more participation videos, participant videos, because you don't have any concentration or awareness on what you're doing until you actually are like on the clock, right? So I like where Mike is kind of going with this, but it really, in order to really get this instituted, until it becomes personal with you, we really need to kind of get an idea of what you're skiing. And the ironic thing is, this is exactly the same conversation I had with Mike Thomas earlier this afternoon, because he sent me a video of his skiing, and I go, well, I'm looking at your video, and the thing that I'm looking at is makes me wonder if there's a misunderstanding of how we control our speed, right? Because the movement pattern you're showing me kind of gives me an illusion that maybe you don't quite understand how we control our speed. And until we can have that conversation, it's going to be very difficult for me to really kind of diagnose the source cause, because our understanding might be here and our ski level might be here, but they always hop above each other. In order to get an institute to change on the skiing level, I have to have a higher understanding of what I'm trying to do. If I don't have a higher understanding, we're going to plateau, and all we're going to do is we're going to create a bad habit by practicing bad habits. And now that we almost have to backtrack in order to get a higher understanding. Does that make sense? The two of them don't work they work kind of with each other and against each other. Cool. In order for us to really understand what's going on, we have to look at ourselves, and we have to look at ourselves in a very, unselfish way.
And to what Chuck was saying, yeah, I mean, there were times where I had made some comments to different people, and the questions that came up was, what do you mean? And I had to futz with my camera a little bit to show you guys the actual body movements for that concept. And so that's kind of where I'm going with this deeper understanding, this combination of the biomechanics and the physics and the outcome and performance of the skis.
I mean, we could really get into biomechanics, and that could be like multi weeks, right?
Can I ask a question around
Yeah,
that?
yeah, go ahead.
Because biomechanics is something I'm very interested in, muscular
Yeah, cool.
engagement, different parts of the turn. And I'm going to just throw it out how we can do this effectively in a Zoom call, because when we were at Solitude, like every question I had revolved around what muscle gauge did you feel engaged? And, you know, and I was kind of surveying people in my group, but also surveying myself in what groups of muscles that I was engaging at different parts of the turn. And so I could see as I was observing others, but also try to feel it myself. So
Right.
the question is how we do this effectively in Zoom. Because I think that's a huge part of it, is being able to feel the sensory engagement of, like we were doing, for example, we were doing white pass turns, and we were doing progressive flexion through the shape of the turn. And I got to the bottom, I said to Katie White, I said, I feel it in my glute and here. And she shook her head, yes. And then I started surveying everyone else if they felt it in the same or similar spots, because I wanted to see their movement and see where they felt it versus what people were saying about my skiing and where I was feeling it. So the question is, how do we do this effectively on Zoom?
Right.
I think it's a big part of it to be able to associate, right? You know where I'm going.
Yeah, yeah. And we have to be, like I said, honestly, the best way to do it is just to start sharing your own videos. And that's a giant leap for a lot of us. I get it. Okay.
Chuck,
I mean, yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
It's gay.
Yes, I have your video.
Great.
I have your
Um,
video
Thanks to
actually.
Benji.
Yes, I'm going. Benji's here too, so he can.
Yeah.
He can
No, but
blame. You can blame him.
no, we can thank him because I was trying to fix something and it developed a different habit, which
Yeah.
was bad. So thank goodness I wasn't working on it longer than whatever. But as an educator, I think there are three issues, and I'm wrangling with one right now, which is I want to get a family Eastern Maine ski area to give a regular level 1 training. And I didn't manage to get to my assessment for teaching for level 3, but I knew it was going to be more feedback than acceptance, you know. I have But the thing is, and it was mentioned by one of us, that how do you get these very talented kids who've skied all their life in Maine to go to level 1 trainings at 8 a.m. when otherwise they can sleep in and only show up to work at 9:30?
You know, some of this stuff is personal motivation, and especially nowadays, you can't give somebody the motivation to do it. That has to really come from within.
And I agree with you, but like when I worked at Wyndham, which Wyndham in near south of Albany, they're chock-a-block full with examiners and very fine teachers. So people go ski there as instructors for the training. So you attract that kind. But now you have little resorts where there's very little feedback. Fortunately, Boyne has bought us, so there's more resources. But the real issue is it has to be prioritized from the grounds up. And the Northeast, as was stated, seems to have not only shorter seasons, but different motivations to join. And
Yeah.
it's tricky. I mean, if I knew Chuck was doing this, or you, Mike, or whatever, and you were, hey, you know, starting June, Chuck does a series, but we don't do Memorial Day weekends, you know, and you say, I'm doing 3 these Mondays or whatever. And then the next month, July, and we do biomechanics, which I think we all could learn from. And you have a suggested 1 or 2, which we have really good books on anatomy or that. I think, and don't make it so laborious, because I think you'll lose a lot of people in the summer for just alternate, activities. I think it would be really helpful to keep the conversation going. And I, as you and Benji know, I couldn't get anyone to video me this whole season until I hurt myself. And then we get one of those examiners, she comes by for 2 hours just to visit on behalf of Boyne. And she says, I think you all should be doing this. And it's a typical Winter Park this, move to the outside ski.
Yeah.
And I got feedback, Gay, you're doing it. And it's like, probably the only thing I'm doing right. But the whole point is keep the focus going, understand the biomechanics, and keep it light. And I totally agree with, suggest some activities we can do to have stronger core or whatever, the rollerblading, so that each month, maybe it's only 2 sessions, and maybe people have to go home and actually do some homework,
Well,
Because we're
and we got to
both
we got
lying
to
to you.
we have to do a really really good job of getting motivated, right, and
Yeah.
getting excited. I mean, I geek out on this stuff. I mean, even my wife is like irritated sometimes that when she comes out west with me, that all we do is talk about skiing when we're not skiing.
Chuck, you're our leader. You're our intrinsic motivator to be here this
You know?
evening.
Right.
Hey, I will talk about skiing anytime you want to talk about skiing, right? How deep do you want to go down that rabbit hole is entirely up to you. But I geek out on this stuff because I think it's awesome and it's fun and I love the sport and I love to teach. But it's not always shared by everybody else. And I try to be as motivating as I possibly can, but there is a certain amount of buy-in that we're going to have to get to, which is kind of what AJ was alluding to. How can we get some more buy-in from our level ones so that they can? And just think of it this way: the problem that I'm already running into here in the West or in the Rockies is they're trying to make the level one into a professional exam, right? And where there's way less feedback and way less teaching, and you're already coming in with all the skills already in place. And frankly, I don't agree with that. I don't know
That's
how
a-
Mike feels, but I don't agree with it at all. I think it's an obstacle and a barrier.
I think when they do that to level ones, they're going to lose a lot of level one.
I agree.
Level one, by definition, is pretty much a copy and paste.
Yeah.
They don't have the ability at that level to actually problem solve or troubleshoot, barring a basic level.
Right.
It isn't until you get into level 2 and beyond that your ability to problem solve comes in.
I
think
so
that depends
Mike,
on the person, Mike. I'm just going to say, I think it depends on the person. There are a lot of level ones who have the aptitude and knowledge who choose not to go on to level 2,
Sure.
who can problem solve, who are really good teachers, who can identify and define skills that help people progress. And, PSI hasn't maybe considered that domain or that population of instructors, and I think there's, in the future, I foresee this competition to be L3 or whatever, or L2 or whatever. And maybe there needs to be a more global look at the strategy of what PSA is trying to do, but that's a whole other conversation.
I
But I
think
do believe a lot of level ones are
you're.
confident.
I 100% agree with you, Joanne. Coming from the Central, knowing a little bit about the East, we are not professional ski instructors here.
And,
Right.
I'm going to agree as well to a level. But out here in Rocky Mountain, we get so many people going for their level 1 exam. They maybe only have a season, possibly 2, that they have worked. And 1 to 2 seasons doesn't necessarily give that background. And as I understand the other regions, they're a lot more part-time than the people out here.
Yes.
We have a very high constituent of full-time people. But if you're working all the time, it's really hard to pick up that knowledge to problem solve.
So I agree with everything you said. And my dilemma where I'm working now is the head of the ski school and the gal who runs the children's. Wonderful people, beautiful skiers, originally racers. Neither of them has passed their level 2 because they don't have time, and most of their staff, as defined by Eastern skiers, it's the other activity. They actually have to earn a living. So
Mm-hmm.
you can't ask them too much.
Mm-mm.
What my real issue is, Mike, is that, and Kristen said it to me more than once, when we get a kid who's now their second or third day, and one of these very talented kids that learned on the mountain, that's parent ski, taught them, since they don't know the basics of teaching, I have to look at the kids, figure out, is there something totally missing here, and go fix it before I can progress. So if they knew those basic class management, how to address a child to gain their interest, getting on your knees, how to check the boots. I mean, I was just with Benji, and their instructors actually know how to adjust to get the skis ready for the kids to ski in, the mechanics. I mean, all of those things make a much more fun and successful experience for the beginners who are the level ones are going to get, and then they'll come back. But a sense of accomplishment and where to go. Because for 2 or 3 years, I would panic before taking a student because I didn't have a structure I could live with.
Right.
With a structure, you're much better.
Right. And so you really have to stand back and say, okay, did I have the tools I needed to take out a level 1 class?
Right.
And if those tools weren't there, then it's time to start looking at the new hire training.
That's
Yep.
exactly what I'm working on. Thank you.
And I have, if you want to run ideas by me, I think Chuck would say the same thing. You're more than welcome to run ideas by us to help develop a new hire training
Right.
outline or program or whatever.
And that's exactly what I would like to do this summer,
Yeah.
to put in perspective.
We
If
could probably
whatever
do
Chuck
that.
does, we do it in a building, like show a video of someone, then talk about how you assess something. The third thing, go into the biomechanics, or you do one topic a month. The whole point is they're all related, and
Yep.
where we're weakest is where we want to, get advice.
There's actually a lot of those movement patterns you can do without being on snow.
Oh, good.
You can do them on stairs, on the ground, on concrete. I guess because I've had to do new hire training where we haven't had snow on the ground yet, there are ways to develop those movement patterns before you even get to the snow.
Exactly.
So for me, that would be a fabulous sort of September or
Yeah, let's think about that
October.
for at the beginning of the year. Sorry,
Awesome.
I'm going to kind of hijack this back.
You need
Yeah.
to hire Chuck and I to come out and play with you guys for a few days.
How
Exactly.
cheap are you?
Don't you need a trip, Chuck?
Oh my God, to Maine? I don't know about that.
How about the San Diego?
Hey, I bet the seafood and the Bass Ale would be really, really good.
I'm sure
Well,
it would be. Yeah.
We're in the heart of craft beers, and you're stand at the top of my mountain, and you think you're on an island because you're in the lake region. It is so exquisitely beautiful. We could find a
nice.
way to get you
I'm
out.
game.
Yeah.
Go fishing.
All right. Since we have gay on television right now.
Oh, that's frightening.
I don't think it's that frightening. Actually, I think it's pretty good ski.
Actually, I've lost
She lost the
audio.
picture.
I'm gonna come back. I'm only on post attendee Zoom right now. Sorry. I have to go back. You see, that's why I wanted to set it up before. Okay, we're going back. So now we're coming. Okay. Oh, yep. Sandy is here. She was also filmed by yours truly.
I'm going to assume she's the one in white up there.
Yes. I'm in the one in the dark
Yeah, the one that's moving.
right now, yes.
Yeah. So what do you guys see?
Benji's told us what we should see, so I'm letting everyone else talk.
Actually, if we want to run this more like the way the exams are going to be going, I would ask Gabe, talk to me about your skiing.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, that would be cheating, but yeah, sure.
No, oh, that works for me. If
Yeah,
Sandy-
what were you thinking about when you were doing this skiing?
So this was my first day in Colorado,
Uh-huh.
and I'd just recovered from a sprain. And my goal was to initiate the top part of my turn. I was on borrowed skis, but wonderful ones, by more forcefully initiating it at the top of the turn, because I felt I didn't. And apparently I'd overdone it, and I was going back to those old habits of coming up and down. And that's the background. What I
Okay.
see,
Well, before you get to
oh,
what you see, you say you were trying to more forcefully get things started at the beginning of the turn. So
yes, with my
specifically,
outside
what
ski.
were you doing?
I was pushing the outside of my ski forward more to try to tip it
Which
better.
ski?
The one that would become the outside ski. So
There you go.
I was moving to the outside, but apparently I was overdoing it. My skis were, there was too much difference in the distance of the tips apart. And
Okay.
and the result, if I understood it quickly, was it, I was putting so much weight on the outside ski that the inside ski kind of got disengaged, and it created uneven edging around the turn.
And then if we take that down to the physics, because you shoved that, what would be the new outside ski forward,
Yeah.
you actually came off the front of the boot and you overpressured the tail of the ski. So you lost contact with the front of the boots, so they weren't really going into the turn equally, nor did you maintain pressure equally on the front of the boot or equal forward angles on the front of the boots.
Well, that's really interesting because I was skiing in brand new boots. So that also feeds into an
Yeah,
understanding.
Gates in new
Yep.
boots on a
So-
rental ski, so it
Yeah,
was quite
so these are parts of the internal understanding that we need to figure out.
Yes, for sure. And in the East, since people typically have Z turns or do a lot of sliding after the apex, I was always interested more in moving to my outside ski early, but I was finding I wasn't getting enough edge. So my internal said, well, just push more weight to that new outside ski, and I overdid it.
And you know, when we're talking about internal understandings, you're talking about putting more weight on the outside ski, which is great, but now you're talking about doing it by pushing the ski forward. So you've taken what theoretically is a lateral movement and you've made it a fore-aft movement.
Right. So I end up a little bit back at the end of the turn.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Throughout most of the turn, actually.
That's exactly what Benji said.
Oh, well, that's the premise you and I started on in the morning before
Yeah.
Benji. That was my observation.
So I'm gonna be quick and kind of interject here just a little
Yeah.
bit.
Go for greatness.
What I'm seeing right off the bat is that you're not really aligning over the new outside ski at all. But
Right.
instead that you're using your hips as a way to kind of help you move from side to side. There is a very definitive hip movement that's happening. That's an upper body movement. That's moving you laterally. So instead of using flexion and extension movements to move ourselves into the
That's
new turn.
exactly what Sandy said. And I said, flexion extension, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
That's really funny.
So
We're all in the same way.
And here's the understanding piece I would probably emphasize with you. How do we get pressure to the outside ski?
That's actually what Sandy was trying to explain to me.
It's very simple. How do we get pressure to the outside ski?
Well,
How
I
do we
just
get more weight on the outside ski earlier?
simultaneously tipping, you, no?
No,
Nope.
no.
Stand up. Just stand up you're at home right now.
Yeah.
Stand up and then balance on one foot. Doesn't make any difference which one. And what do you got to do to balance over one foot?
You've got to move your center of mass over that foot.
Bingo.
Yeah. And the simple way I like to explain it is, if I want more weight on the outside ski, I got to take weight off the inside ski.
We were coming at it from another direction this
Sure.
afternoon with Gay, Benji and Gay and I skied together. And tell me if I'm going off in a tangent that doesn't make sense here, but Gay had so much lead with one ski
Which was put,
that she
Sure.
couldn't stand on two skis at the same time to get the next turn started. So she had a lot of up and down and some stepping. And so
Honestly, a lot of the up and down I'm seeing is a very definitive trying to move forward.
Yep. Moving the hips forward.
But the problem is, as she's moving them forward, she's kind of twisting them out,
yes.
which is how she moves the skis from side to side. So I think you're kind of on the right track. I mean, let's go back and look here. Let's look at Chris Caruso again, real quick. All right.
I will throw the caveat in there.
Yeah, go ahead.
That Sandy is correct. Like that was present. It just wasn't immediately present in that video because we toned down the terrain and we toned down the performance.
Right.
what happened? Where's our?
This is the perfect skier.
Well, I watched him quite a bit
Yeah.
while you were on.
Yeah. And notice how he aligns over the outside ski.
The outside ski.
Yeah,
He aligns by taking weight off the inside ski.
taking the weight
He
off.
shortens the inside ski. That's how he moves laterally.
I got you. And actually, Zoe from Bozeman was suggesting we all do that 3 days ago. Huh.
Yeah, so when we go back to your video here, we get to come back up again. Sorry, I have to put the, here we go.
What's left the discussion?
Little blow up so we can see you. Notice that when you're doing it, there's not really a definitive, you're standing on the new outside leg, but you're not really consciously shortening the inside leg.
Okay.
Which isn't allowing you to move into the turn.
That's very helpful.
Yeah.
That's perfectly clear. Yeah.
Yep. When you know what you're looking for, if it's not there,
Yeah, and I mean, as a result, when we look at it, there's not really any angles that are formed, right? It's more inclination. This is like perfect metronome skiing. Yeah.
Isn't
So we're
are
not
you
really
using-
creating any angles. We're not really creating anything for the lower body. We're not really allowing the lower body to create anything, right? Because the extension movements robs us of all of that.
No, and since I'm not over the outside ski, I start to bank
Right.
on some of the turns.
Yeah. But that's how, and this is another little tidbit I got from Jen Metz this year, which I really, really like, is that don't start aligning yourself over the outside ski until that ski starts to make you change direction. Until the ski starts to engage and move you in a new direction.
More patience.
Then align over that ski.
No, that makes sense.
Because you want the ski to move you to the inside. You don't want to be moving to the inside and then trying to catch up to the ski. Does that make sense?
So I just had a clinic on stance and alignment a couple of weeks ago, and I developed, so I call it PTSD, which is what we talked about. Get on the pinky toe of your inside ski, then use that as a support before you start going downhill.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So PTSD.
And then there's
Pinky toe support downhill.
All right. Just help you, Gay?
No
She's
comment.
busy writing everything down.
All right.
Chuck, this is
Yeah.
for you and for Mike, and it kind of goes back to what Joanne was saying for the summer. So
Mhm.
like, it's really easy to say, you got to get aligned over your outside ski, and you
Yeah.
can't stand up and feel it. But
Yeah.
when you're not on an incline, it's
Yes, yes.
really hard to understand the biomechanics and what you're supposed to be feeling. And I know there's physics involved, but
Yeah.
like I'm trying to rig up stuff on a slant board at the gym, and like I think that's a way to go about feeling it, but talking about it in that nuance on and off snow would be really helpful. Because there is some part of it where you guys it's like easy to say you got to move over and you got to get aligned on the outside ski and there's
Yeah,
diagonal
because we're
direction
moving,
going
right?
on, but really like that is in terms of personal understanding, that is where I am a bit stuck because I find that no matter what, I still have my ass back. And I'm trying to like, I don't have I had a video taken, we dissected it. I don't have it because it's on a trainer's phone. I tried to get
Right.
it. But when I saw that, I was like, oh, Jesus. Like I thought I had an understanding of this, but I'm still aft. And so I
have
guess
a-
I
can
guess I just wanted to add that into this in terms of watching gay skiing and the conversation coming out of it, like to really develop a personal understanding of it, but with a biomechanical focus on what I should be feeling
Mhm.
would be helpful.
Very
Cool.
helpful.
May I insert here?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oftentimes when,
This is Sandy.
hi. Oftentimes when I see skiers who just can't keep their pelvis in alignment over their ankles and their rear drops back a lot of times, I often will wonder about the geometry of their boots, or even as simple as, are you buckled in properly? Are you not flexing your ankles because you don't have the ankle secured? Is there space down in there? I'll look for a lot of different reasons above and beyond the MA and what's actually out there on the snow, because if you don't have that solid foundation in your equipment, nothing else is going to work. So the biggest question here is, am I off base to go off in a tangent like that for problem solving?
I think
No.
it's a great topic for a summer discussion
Yes.
because one of my biggest problems, and Kristen warned me, she said, you'll get second and third day skiers and you'll see what they're doing and you'll think, because we have no level ones, you'll think, who taught them? Did they do this? Did they do that? Because if you don't address certain issues,
Right.
until it's brought up, people don't
yeah.
understand. So to have something like that, where including what you're saying is very helpful.
Well, I look at everything holistically.
But knowing if you're properly equipped. Yeah, there we go. Oh, great exercises. Now, is he balanced over his outside ski?
Yes.
Where'd you find
Mhm.
that?
I made it.
Oh, it's very cool.
That is literally me in the gym last year.
That's cool, but
Just
look at how
creating
you're
videos.
balancing over the outside ski.
Yeah.
The face is so good.
And look at the face expression.
Are you looking at yourself in a mirror?
I'm literally looking at myself in a mirror, yes. This is in a yoga studio, so yes.
So good.
And all I'm doing is trying to show how you incline and
Yeah.
then you angulate. So the
Yes.
incline is to start creating angles, and then the angulate's how we start to mitigate pressure.
Yeah, so there's
Right.
centering over.
Yeah.
That's a very good one, Chuck. That would
Yeah, but the
definitely
idea
add-
here was notice how the inside leg shortens in order to align over the outside leg. So that piece right there, right?
Right.
Now I'm aligned, the center of mass is aligned over the outside ski, because before, when I was here, it's clearly my belly button is now aligned over the inside pinky toe. But as soon as I align over the outside ski here, now my body's aligned to the outside ski.
And notice too, he has a short and shorter leg. When he
Yeah.
was inclining, he had a short and a long leg.
Right.
As soon
Well,
as he angled up, that outside leg got shorter.
So
Yeah.
you were asking about feeling. This is
Yeah.
an exercise I do like every week. Not this particular exercise, but I will take a band and I'll put it on a piece of apparatus and I'll lean into the band and then I'll stand on the outside ski, which is the one closest to the apparatus, and literally do leg lifts with the inside ski and balance over
Mm.
that outside leg.
You're skiing on that other foot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I try
You
to
ever-
do it in various levels of almost standing tall, almost doing a pistol squat.
Do you ever pivot as well, like to put some
No,
counter?
I try not to do that because I'm
No,
really,
I meant
it's
putting
already hard
counter.
enough, right?
Yep.
It's pretty hard, which
Hmm.
is why I'm probably grimacing there. That, and I'm afraid that I've got it attached to a cart with wheels, and I'm afraid it's going to come slingshotting at me at any second.
Yeah. Well, that's really cool. This is cool. Like this would be fun to look at stuff like this in
And
more depth.
if you combine that with the biomechanics issue,
Right.
and then maybe if you have a favorite turning video, say, well, this is a consequence, and then a really bad turning, and this is the problem. I mean, for those of us who ski fewer months and have fewer trainers, this is what's missing, putting the pieces together.
Right. Right.
Also,
So,
Deb Armstrong has a whole bunch where she's doing it on her kitchen counter, on the stairs. There's
yeah, that was actually inspiration for all of this, right? So here's how lower leg activation controls angulation of the ankles.
Oh, right, because you're focused, that's very helpful.
That's not me actually rotating my knees. That's me actually activating my ankles.
And Deb Armstrong, as Rebecca said, has one which I brought up to Zoe the other day. I said, it's exactly this topic, but she says there's a difference between, and it's this kind of a, she on the flat does what we're looking at. She said, when you bend your inside knee in more, and when you move your weight over the outside ski. So she was giving you a visual sort of guide if you were watching someone else. If you saw one thing, if you saw the other thing, they're doing it right.
Right.
I mean, it's putting together all the dots, right?
Yeah, Chuck,
That's
you
very-
wouldn't be in dorsiflexion the entire time, would you?
I don't know. Do I?
No, no, I
That's all
meant with
right.
your
I got another video here of without very much ankle activation at all. And there's a difference.
I guess I didn't mean dorsiflexion, but toe extent. Your
Well, I'm physically trying to activate the ankle.
right.
Right.
But your short toe extensors are going to fatigue
Right.
there.
And
Well,
here is one where I don't.
Oh, yeah, got it.
Notice the difference.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's what
Hey,
we want,
Saskia,
right?
are you still there? She dropped. She must have dropped.
Yeah,
This would have been
she-
useful.
This is Laura. She stopped. She's having dinner with her sister right now, who's visiting.
Okay. Well, this is she's been having trouble with that idea of railroad tracks.
Mm-hmm.
This is probably what's happening inside her boot. This is what
That's what Deb Armstrong demonstrates.
Yep, that's giving you great rotation.
Yeah. This is what we want. We want ankle activation, and then now look at the difference.
Mm-hmm.
That
Now I can
engages the
really-
edges.
That way I can really adjust the pressure from side ski to side ski and really engage the edges.
Those are great videos.
Yeah.
Because no one can see your feet.
Nobody can see her feet. Everybody's like,
When
no,
they're in boots, it gets
angulation comes from the lower leg. No, it doesn't. It comes from the ankles.
I don't know. What
there's actually a DVD that was made by Robin
I
Barnes
don't understand what you
where-
asked me.
of showing the feet inside
Oh,
the
you
boot.
press it down. They have.
Has anyone seen that?
You recognize them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
No, haven't seen that one.
I don't
Your
know how
feet.
I
Working on dorsiflexion. And this is
I'll
exactly.
figure out if I can put it on,
Yeah.
And here
send
it
it
is
to
again.
you. It's a DVD that's done a few years ago
About that with
called Going Down South or something like that.
shortening. So it would-
Maybe it's online. I'll look for it. If not, I'll have to figure out how to hook up a DVD to this particular computer.
This is a good video that really shows how that particular muscle that runs right here along the inside or the outside of your shin, the anterior tibialis, you can actually see it engage.
It's
Right
also
there.
the extensor digitorum.
Right.
Mhm.
Well, that runs on the inside, but yes, same thing. But the idea is that they're not very big muscles. They play a very active role in our skiing. We cannot
They're-
get that kind of pronation and supination without those two muscles.
They're very big balancing muscles and running muscles.
Yeah.
So a thought that just dawned on me, Katie, when you're working on a ramp, an incline board and that to work on your flexion,
Mm-hmm.
make sure that you lead with that uphill hip a little bit. It changes where your butt is going to be and your ability to pressure the front of the boot.
I lead with the uphill leg,
I didn't say leg, hip.
hip.
Your anticipation, your counter starts with the hip. So
Mm.
the uphill foot is definitely leading, but it starts at the pelvis.
Okay. So what do you mean it's ridiculous?
And that changes where your butt is when you're trying to drive into the front of the boot. If we were watching, I think it was Gay skiing, her pelvis was aligned over both feet. There was no counter.
Mm-hmm.
As a result, it was the pelvis went forward and backward. It couldn't come down over the boots.
That was what I was complaining about.
So here's a video that shows the difference between ankle activation and no
I
activation.
mean, I'm just in a class.
Or as I like to say, us instructors, hopefully, and everybody else.
I will get myself out of this class now, okay?
Anyway,
And then.
it's already 10 after 8. Holy moly. This is where time management sometimes eludes me.
Is there still any chance
Can't
of showing?
remember how to hang up.
Did-
Sorry, showing who?
Did Benji send the
I don't-
videos of Sandy?
Benji, did you send videos of Sandy?
I did not because I couldn't put it in the same email, and I didn't even know if the first video was
Oh.
going to make it because it was too large, or it said it was too large.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah. I
Maybe
got the
next
link.
time. I've
Next
got
time.
Sandy hooked.
Yeah.
Now that I'm in Colorado, I want Sandy to talk to me about these things.
All right, cool. Well, anyway, I do have a video loaded up, which is a good one.
Oh,
So let's go ahead and start sharing that one instead.
And I put this out since I too am in Colorado and anybody's here. If you guys are in town and there's a way we can get together to make some rights and lefts, feel free to text me, send me an email or whatever. Same with Chuck. If we're in town and we can make it, we'll definitely more than happy to
I
make
only
some
got
rights
the
and
one
lefts.
weekend left, but I hope to come out at least one more time sometime this year.
Mike,
Okay.
And this
where are
next
you
year,
out of? Mike,
next year, yeah.
we'll get his email. from
Yes,
Chuck.
where are you out of?
I am based out of Loveland and Breckenridge.
Okay,
Sandy lives in
in Winter Park.
Winter Park.
That's a little over an hour's drive to Loveland.
Right.
Oh, yeah, well, it's the next closest ski area.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're there all the time in the spring.
Well, no, it's not because you got
Oh,
what is
well,
that?
Granby Ranch is
Granby, you got Granby
star
Ranch.
of that whole
Yeah.
valley.
And then you got Berthoud.
Berthoud's not a ski
No
area
longer.
anymore.
Well, it was, and they still,
but it's-
you can
yeah.
still hike up and down and ski it.
Can, but I consider Loveland my closest spring ski area when everything else closes.
Joe Poe's wife works at Loveland.
Yep.
Yep.
Joanne has her hand up.
Oh,
Who does?
Jeff Poe.
Joanne,
Oh, Joanne, go ahead.
Okay, so this is our open parallel.
Did we lose Joanne?
We're down to
We lost
12.
Joanne. Oh, Joanne said she had to go. Anyway, let's try to get us back on track. Next week, I'd like to do more participant videos too, and
Ask him to send yours.
try to avoid getting trapped into a endless loop of what I like to call laterals, tangents.
But I do love the way you show an outstanding skier do whatever and then show
Yeah, we're
here's
gonna
at
be
different
doing
levels. I think that's very helpful.
Yeah,
Oh.
this is pretty good skiing, right? I mean, this is not bad. This would I would consider this not bad. I couldn't call it passing basic parallel, but this is not a bad basic parallel.
It's
passing for which level?
Level 2.
Level 2. I couldn't call it passing, but
What do you not like?
Hey, I'm for you guys back east. There are tech talks that happened
chemo.
every few weeks. It's called a chemo.
Yeah, Katie's
And
actually teaches at a
I
chemo.
thought I saw Rebecca there at the last one, but it's
You did.
the guy that's running it is a demo team, and he did an MA presentation. I think it was last week, which was really good because he was doing side-by-side videos of the fundamentals and what to look for good skiing, what to look for bad skiing. He addressed rotary multiple ways, but he showed good rotary in one video and then right next to it, bad rotary with the whole body turning and that. And I thought the way he did it, I think for people working on their level 2s to gain that level of understanding would be awesome. And he has recorded it, so I'm pretty sure you guys back east can probably find it
Is
through.
it on YouTube yet?
I
I'm
don't know.
gonna-
I think you
I'm-
can go to the Okemo area and that. But
I can send the link.
Yeah, I was just looking it up too.
If you got it, send me a link and I'll go ahead and share with everybody.
Yeah, I'll send you the link.
But the one last week was really good because it was showing a good movement patterns and right next to it, bad movement patterns to help with MA.
Yeah, they happen, I think, every once a month on Tuesday.
In the winter, it's every 2 or 3 weeks. In the summer, I think he's dropping down to once a month.
Yes,
But I've started attending them a little bit, and I'm starting to learn a lot about the difference between Rocky Mountain and Eastern region by attending those things right now.
When are they during the day, Mike?
No, they start at 5 o'clock our time here in Denver.
Oh, all right. I'll have to. What days are they usually on?
Tuesdays.
Tuesday nights.
I think we can do it. If
I
not
could
this-
always skip children's on Tuesday. No, children's on Mondays.
So if I remember when I get another blurb about it, because I know he's going to put another one together here soon, I'll try to remember to send it out.
Chuck, I just put the thing in
I saw
the
it.
link.
Thank you.
thank you.
Yeah.
He
Oh, I
also
just
has
emailed
these
it.
talks on YouTube, so you can go to Okemo Tech Talks
Yeah,
and you can
that's
take a
where
look
I've
at
been
what
getting
he's
them.
posted.
Is he posting them on YouTube now, or?
Yes.
He's been posting them for about a year.
Mhm.
'Cause I actually subscribed to him, but I haven't seen any recently.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because I usually stay a little late, and I kind of, let's just say I ask questions that probably isn't good for the rest of the group.
All right. Anyway, back to this particular skier. Looking at that script that I gave you, what are some things that you're noticing? We have a skier that's basically on I would say either kind of bluish greenish terrain, probably more greenish than bluish. He's attempting to make some medium radius turns. I'm going to call them basic parallels because they don't look very performancy. Snow looks pretty good. I think his equipment looks pretty proper. Speed from the beginning of the run to the end of the run continues to increase.
Oh, does
And
it?
he's attempting to make fairly C-shaped turns.
What was his task?
I'm
Open
gonna assume the task is gonna be basic parallels, because it does
Basic
say
parallels
basic
with-
open parallel down at the bottom.
So his skis do this. at
Yeah,
the end
and
of a
was he,
turn, and he's not separating.
do you know if he was directed to maintain his speed uniformly from turn to turn, or was he just
Well,
allowed
that
to?
would be something that would be in the IDP, yes. Not only should the turn be matching from top to bottom, but it should be matching from side to side. And where I feel like he's unsuccessful is that he continues to gain speed throughout the turn. And each turn gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
And his tips move apart.
Well, he has trouble creating body angles when turning to the left more so than on the right.
Ooh, very good catch. Yes.
And
That's
that's
do a lot of us.
us, what you were seeing.
Oh, yeah,
okay?
here's it, right
See
here.
that because.
Yeah. So from one of the common threads, could you identify what you would say about this particular skier? Because I think you're already in a direction. If you talked it out real quickly.
Don't have them written down.
Oh, that's where they're into my email.
I know, but I don't have a printer, and Sandy just started watching.
All right, let me help
so-
you out.
so-
One
so-
of them says something about directing both skis both skis should be steered, guided simultaneously from at the beginning of the turn.
Right, and that would give him a more consistent shape on both sides.
Right?
The
Is
other
he
thing,
doing that?
no, which is part of the reason he's gaining speed when he turns.
Cool. Could you identify a fundamental
Um,
that you would like to talk about?
moving to the outside ski.
It could be.
I mean, he just does it differently on each turn. I mean, on left versus right.
Right.
The other thing is separating the upper and lower body, which he doesn't do. He just follows the skis. Is that a fundamental? I can't remember because I'm just.
It's actually one of the fundamental. There's two of them actually that you could target. One of them is upper body stability allows for lower body mobility, or arms
yeah.
and legs.
That
If you have a
works.
stable upper body, you can allows you to do stuff with your lower body. And the other one is skiing in and out of counter throughout transition.
Say that again.
Oh, skiing in and out of
Ski
counter
in
throughout
and out of
transition,
counter throughout transition.
which is what he doesn't do that well.
Yeah, it's maintaining counter through transition.
Maintaining counter throughout transition. I like to call it skiing in and out of counter.
So and these are your strands, right?
Yeah, I mean, you could pick
So-
any of
so
these.
that-
and I think
No,
you would be
that makes a
successful
lot
in
of
any
sense.
Yeah.
But then don't we want to pick a
And then in
very
order to,
fundamental and then a lesser?
we would have a primary fundamental that would institute a change, and then we'd have a secondary fundamental that would use help us support that change.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
We can't. The common threads don't tell us how to make a change.
Right. That they
Just tell us what
just
good
what to
skiing
look
is.
for.
Yeah.
The fundamentals are the body movements to affect the change.
Yes.
That's where those strands are. They're new to me.
So the words for the common thread is a countered relationship is maintained through the transition between turns.
Oh, okay. So he definitely doesn't do that.
No,
No.
That could be a fundamental then.
Well,
that's a common thread.
That would be
Oh,
a common thread, but then you would identify a fundamental that would allow him to institute that change.
Hence a teaching progression. Is that
Right.
what we're getting
Yep.
at?
Well, we're not looking for a teaching progression yet. We just want to identify what the troublemaker
To
is.
focus on.
And then what would make, I like where Gay's going with the idea of how he aligns over the outside ski,
Ah, thank you
right?
for that tip. He isn't. He's
So
more
I
like
like the
me.
idea that he's not really, at the top of the turn, he kind of lingers with both legs the same length for a long time before he finally settles into the turn. So that means he's
He's
not
bad.
really pressuring the outside ski until late into the turn, which is why he spins
True.
out at the top,
Right. And
which
on
is
that
why
one
that
turn,
outside ski turns before the inside ski. And as a result, he also diverges the tips at the end of the turn. So these are all indicators to me. If I was going to describe it, I'd be
That's
saying
really
along
good.
lines of at the initiation, he's not really aligned over both skis. He's still kind of on the old outside ski. Then somewhere in the shaping phase, does the old outside ski start bending more than the inside ski? But the inside ski still has more pressure than it should, which means it kind of bends more than it
and
should.
so clarify
Yeah.
the cause of the divergence is what?
The divergence is in this particular case is because he has
Too much
inappropriate
pressure.
amount of pressure on the inside ski. It's causing it to engage more than the outside ski. So it's
Oh, okay.
turning more than the outside ski.
And then you can come up with a progression.
Then you can start, that's identifying the ski movements. And then you can start talking about the long leg, short leg as a body performance, right? At the initiation, the outside leg is still longer than the inside leg. And then finally, somewhere around the top of shaping and into the
See how
into the
quickly.
shaping phase where the legs are now about the same length, and then he rapidly shortens the inside leg, but he doesn't
Yeah.
really shorten it enough that he takes enough pressure off of it, so it still wants to turn more than the outside leg.
And these are all the reasons he wouldn't pass level 2 with that.
Yes.
Okay.
Ideally, what I'd like him to see is I'd like to see both skis equally pressured at the top of the turn, not in the shaping phase.
Right.
Then I'd like to see
Just what
a
I'm trying to fix.
long leg, short leg relationship start to develop at the top of the turn. So by the time he reaches the apex, the inside leg is significantly shorter than the outside leg. It's going to allow the outside ski to bend more than the inside ski. And then at the finish, towards the finish turn, then he can start reversing the process this way.
I'm
slowly.
going to re-listen to this video because this is very helpful because you
Well,
show.
this is I think honestly, I think this has been the real kind of, and this I blame myself. I have not done enough of these to show you, to give you an indication of why I haven't given you good enough demonstrations of a good EMA that would be passable. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I need to do that. I'm gonna make sure that I do that every time now, so that you guys got some idea of what you should be saying. Anyway, to continue, if he has pressure at the top of the turn and he starts to bend the inside leg and stiffen the outside leg more, and that's going to allow him to engage higher in the arc, so he can be more disciplined about his turn shape.
Body inclines.
It's going to give him speed control, which is something that I noticed very early on, is that he continues to go faster and faster, and the turns get longer and longer. It's going to allow him to shape the top of the turn, which is going to allow him to engage earlier, which is going to allow him to control his speed throughout the turn instead of at the end of the turn. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And then you could add another fundamental if you wanted to. I mean, I would probably try to equate something along edging, that all of the edging happens at the end of the turn,
Yeah,
Yeah.
look at that. It
right?
will-
And he kind of has a sequential edging movement, kind of moves with that transfer of weight, and that all the edging doesn't really start until kind of the apex, and then his maximum edge angles are at the end of the turn.
Right, and that gives them even a little skid on some of the turns.
Yeah, he's got a skid at the top, and then of course he's
Also
trying to
on one
control
s-
his speed at the bottom of the turn.
I wonder about the terrain. I mean, we can't really tell with our perspective in the video, but it seems like he may have somewhat of a dual fall line because his turn shapes aren't uniform from side to side.
Yeah, but that shouldn't matter if he could control his edging a little bit better and his ability to pressure the outside ski and get that ski engaged earlier. I really firmly believe he wouldn't have this problem of continuously getting faster.
And you know, Chuck brings up another point. There's some fundamentals that really work well together, and edging and ski to ski pressure and directing pressure to the outside ski. Those two fundamentals work very tightly together, and fore aft and rotary work very tightly together.
Yeah.
From an L2 standpoint,
Mm-hmm.
when you get into L3, you're expected to be able to talk about how
All of them.
rotation affects edging and how ski to ski pressure affects fore aft. All of those become relevant issues. But I will continue to strongly encourage people to start talking about ski to ski pressure in terms of edging because they're so closely aligned, and how we shorten one leg causes those skis to tip on their own without us actually doing anything.
And how we actually direct pressure to the outside ski.
Yeah.
Because that gives us the combination of inclination and angulation.
Yep. Cool. All right. It's 8:30.
By the
It's
way,
8:30.
I just posted the video that I was mentioning on the chat.
Go copy it.
Yes. Yes. The movement and matrix. Yes. I would definitely go to the matrix. They have some newer videos up now that are much better than Jessica Simpson and some videos from like 10 years ago, which are pretty awful. So, Kay, did this help? Did this help some?
It helped a lot because those were the two things I have been working on,
Uh-huh.
which is engaging both edges early in the turn.
Yeah.
But I was always moving to the outside ski really fast. So by doing that and not retracting my inside leg, I was getting that unequal edging and turn performance.
Yep. And you move to it so quickly, you actually extend with it. And that extension.
That pops me up.
Yeah.
Which is an old habit.
This guy doesn't really extend much, right? He
No,
only
he
moves up in way so that he can move the skis from side to side. And he's actually pretty good about being disciplined with his fore aft. It's not terrible, right?
It's not terrible. It's not great.
It's not.
And you're right. Both legs tend to extend and flex at the same time, which pushes his hips up and over his skis.
Yeah.
And that's helpful.
But look at it. It doesn't happen until really late in the turn. Well, after initiation, he lingers on it so long.
And the reality of it is when he does that up and over part, just before he does that, just about the time he starts the movement, that's really when he directs pressure to the outside ski. And then all of a sudden, he's got the pressure on the inside ski again.
Any questions?
Thanks, Chuck.
This was very helpful. And thank you, Benji, for sending in the video.
I don't know. Does anybody want to stick around and do one more? I know I got some folks that are like,
It's getting late back east.
I know.
And
A lot of them are not all. Not everybody's east person. No,
Yeah.
it looks like Laura's already gone.
Well,
Tom, I could suck you into this movement, man.
I'm here.
You want to try one?
Sure.
And I've got to head out, folks. I got some homework I need to do.
so since I'm here for a week and a day,
Hmm?
Mike, I'm going to try to find you at Loveland.
I
Okay,
will be up
call.
there. I'll be up there at Winter Park Friday
Well,
through
I'm definitely
Monday too.
finding Gumby
You'll be in Winter Park when?
next week.
Friday through Monday.
You want
I-
my email or phone number?
Well, I'm sorry, I missed that.
Do you
Shall-
need my phone number or
Yes,
email?
I do. Oh, I wasn't sure I could find it with the 85 and the, yes, I'd love it. You're gonna put it in the chat thing or?
I was just going to give it to you.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Yeah, it's 303
Uh-huh,
601
uh-huh.
1044.
Great.
And if you leave messages or that, if I don't recognize the number, I don't bother answering it. So
I'll
please leave a
text you the-
message or shoot me a text with the name in that affiliated with it.
Okay,
I've got I know I will be in Golden Tuesday night and Wednesday as I've got some doctor's appointments and family stuff, and then I'll be up skiing again.
will you be there Monday?
I'm working Monday.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'll see. I've got to get a car and then,
Okay, and then, but we got weekends and that, and I am spending more time on tele skis right now, but that won't be a problem.
And then who said they'd be at Winter Park this coming week?
Chuck Gumby will be at Winter Park.
Gumby,
I
Yeah.
think so.
I would love to get to meet you and maybe take a run or two.
Yeah. Yeah. Usually I'm going to be teaching. I don't know how much I'm going to be teaching, but
Oh, we'll
I'll
just,
tell you
we'll
what.
just
I'm
show
going to
up.
throw
and-
I'll throw my phone number in the chat.
Terrific.
Yeah, and if I know people are going to be there, then we can plan on a time to meet and all the other fun stuff. And I may even have some other people work on their level 2s and 3s I might be skiing with, and you're more than welcome to join us.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah,
And that's
definitely.
lovely.
Yeah.
Definitely text me if you got something you know.
I'll give her your
Copy.
contact, Gumby, because I have them all.
Yeah, and you can always get my contact stuff from Chuck as well. So
Okay. Well, thank you very much. And it was wonderful that Benji videoed me because no one's videoed me in 3 years. And it was like, what do I look like?
That was the first time in 8 years for me.
Yeah, I haven't had a video in a month, and I'm already like, oh my god, I got to see what's different.
yeah, and unfortunately, when I'm skiing, I've rarely got somebody with me that's got a camera, so I tend to train an awful lot by myself.
Yeah. And then there's so much involved. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, you guys be safe out there. Have a great evening. Have fun, Chuck.
All right, thank you.
I'm scared.
Do you want to stick with it? You're tired, right?
I gotta go.
Thank you, Chuck. We're
Thank
heading
you.
out. We're
All
exhausted.
right,
To
you
meet
guys
you.
have a great day.
Thank you. See you in Winter Park.
All right, Tom, what do you see? This is your candidate.
Yeah, I'm gonna stay on edging right now, and so I'll start with the body. And, it's kind of a sequential movement at the inclination, or sequential movement at the initiation, and that's a 1-2 movement with the inside ski and then to the outside ski. And there's quite a bit of a inclination through keeping and finish. And that requires to make that 1-2 kind of sequential move to get back into the initiation of the next turn. With the body, yeah, you can see that quite a bit of the inclination going on. I'd like to see her create more angles, create more angulation in the hips and with the ankles, as you showed me, which is very important, to create some of those angles as well. And with that, I think that would help the skier rapidly turn those edges onto such a high angle at the shaping and finish of the turn, to kind of create that platform that makes it hard to just start next turn, get the body back over the other side. And then
So
I
let's
would
start
probably
let's
talk
start
a little
back
bit
from
about.
the top. Let's start from the top again.
Okay.
Just to kind of help you guide your thoughts.
Okay.
What the skier is, what
Okay,
kind of, I mean, we're assuming she's doing basic parallels, right?
We got basic parallel on blue terrain.
Okay.
And it's a little choppy, this video, so
Oh,
doing the best I
sorry.
can.
You're gonna have to get more bandwidth, man. I got a T1 connection here.
Is it moving fluid over at your end? Maybe you're
Yeah,
right.
it's moving great on my side. Is everybody else having a problem with it? I'm gonna go ahead and throw it up here on the chat. Oh, just you and me right now. Pretty
That's
much.
better. That's better.
All right.
Okay, that's better. Thank you. So at the initiation of the turn,
What kind of turns are they?
they're medium, basic
Are they
parallel
medium?
turns.
Are they medium radius turns?
Short radius to medium.
Yeah, they look really short radius, don't they?
Yeah, you're right. Actually, short radius. Okay, now I see it moving fluidly. Thank you. So short radius turns, an intermediate skier on new terrain,
Mhm.
and this skier, we were just kind of talking about how
Yeah, what do you think of the
how it's
common
important
threads
to.
would be? Which of the
So
common
yeah,
threads would you like to attack?
the edging and
Well, it's fundamental.
probably the edging and
None of those common threads really talk about edging at all.
oh, the common thread.
Yeah, the common threads.
Okay. So the common thread for the outcome, you mean?
Yeah, what would this is just to help you kind of like think about what the ideal would be, okay? Because a lot of folks really
Okay.
struggle with the ideal,
Right.
which is why we
Yeah.
have these things now, right? I mean, that was the whole point that Deb Armstrong make is, great, we have these great fundamentals where we can really show how we can make a change, but nobody has a freaking clue of what good skiing is. Right? So
Yeah.
she kind of forced the issue of what is good skiing? So we have these these six common threads, right? Upper lower body separation, right? Skiing and maintaining counter throughout transition, right? But guiding both skis into the turn. Flexion extension moves the center of mass across the hill. Those are all things, skis are simultaneously guided into the turn. These are all things that we're going to be beaten into us, especially next year, right?
Yeah.
Especially next year. But if you could get ahead of the game and say, hey, what I'm noticing about this skier is that blah, blah, blah. And here's the fundamentals I want to talk about. Then go into the fundamentals.
Right. So
I know I'm missing
something I'm seeing is she's not creating a lot of angles because
flexions, yeah, ankles work in unison, creating matching forward angles. Right?
Right. And the skis are pretty close together. The tails are washing out at the end as a result. So what I'd like to see her do more is create more angles,
Cool.
for her ankles and hips and knees,
Okay.
especially at the top of the turn, to set her up properly for success. And that, not inclining on so far on the inside ski, you know, what's going on. She's pressuring both skis pretty equally, where I'd like to see
Yeah,
more
remember, what's your fundamental again?
edging. So yeah, so
Edging. So stick to
getting away.
edging. Stay in that lane.
Yeah.
What's happening at the initiation for the skis? Are they edged much?
So
Are they edging at the same time?
not a lot at the very initiation. They start to go to a high edge angle at the shaping to finish of the turn, as she she's inclining quite a bit to the inside of that turn. And then when the skis hook up with the fall line, she really has to tilt those skis on a high edge to get her control her speed at the end of the turn.
Okay, cool. So there you
Ideally,
go.
I'd like, yeah.
So
Ideally, I'd like to
what
see
would you
her.
like to see?
Yeah, I'd like to see her start tipping those skis earlier. The initiation of the turn, to control her speed through all three phases of the turn, and create more of a C-shaped turn.
Cool. See how much easier that was now? And you could have
Yeah.
picked any of the common threads. Honestly, I would probably looked at, because of the direction you went, and you were starting to talk about how the skis moved on the snow, I'd have been like, hey, let's go straight to both skis need to be simultaneously steered, guided into the turn. Because she's not doing that, right? She's pivoting the skis into the turn, right? But the tails are not following the tips, are they?
Yeah. No, they're washing out.
They're washing out.
And
You indicated that. So that tells me right off the bat, hey, let's go to this common thread of both skis need to be steered, guided into the turn. Well, what does steered, guided mean? That means the skis got a guided, steered means I am rotating the skis that are already on edge. She's not doing that. I need her to be on the edges earlier. So I'd like to see her tip her lower legs earlier. That will allow her to do that.
Yeah.
And now I've got this common thread here. I've told you what the outcome that I'd like to have is steered, guided simultaneously into the turn. And here is a change I'm going to make. I need more edging earlier in the turn so that the tails will follow the tips.
Like creating those angles.
By creating angles, yes. Earlier.
Yeah.
Instead of inclining. This is metronome skiing, right?
Right. Yeah, metronome. Which
She's
is easy
allowing
for
her center of mass to move to the inside by letting the skis move out, instead of allowing the skis to move us to the inside. Yeah, cool.
And if we look at that ideal skier that you had up, that was in North Star, then you really see what a difference that makes by not inclining and getting inside that turn without having good angles.
Exactly.
It's not going to work.
Exactly, because he was really, really good at it, right? He allowed those skis to move out, but he didn't start to do anything until the skis engaged. He tipped the skis and he rotated the skis, and then as soon as the skis engaged, that pushed him to the inside. Instead of moving the other way around, which is allowing the skis to move out. So that's, you could have, and honestly,
body too.
Huh?
Did you notice how it helped his body too? He had really nice upper body, lower body separation to allow for that. It was beautiful. And you can look at her, look at how her pole goes back. As soon as it goes back, that makes it so much harder to get back into that proper counter, where that guy he just had his poles out front the whole time. you know?
Her counter, yeah, but her counter isn't real bad, right?
Not too bad. No.
But she's not performing a basic parallel. This is a short radius basic parallel. If she was asked to do this in an exam, this would be a fail. Because it's not 1.5 to 2 cat tracks wide. It should be a medium radius turn.
Right.
And that, and this is a pretty good short radius turn, but it's not the standard. The standard is skis got to be tipped and turned at the same time. They need to be steered into the turn. And I do think she does a pretty good job of matching forward angles and lateral angles, but she doesn't do it at the right times.
Right.
I'd like to see both shins move towards the inside of the turn earlier. Would allow her to tip earlier instead of all the snow pushing down the hill.
Right.
Yeah.
Get it out to the sides. Yep.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Cool.
And then you like to sprinkle in another
Yeah, what would be your
fundamental.
secondary fundamental?
Support it, right? Yeah, so to support it, about fore and aft.
Okay,
So
cool.
I'd like to see the skier top the turn, move her hips forward, create more pressure on the tips of the skis to help
What is she doing now?
to being going.
What is she doing now though?
She's back.
She's not really
Okay, yeah.
back.
So at the initiation, not back, but at the initiation of turn, kind of forward on the tips quite a bit.
She moves up.
Up.
She moves up. She doesn't move forward. She moves up.
Yeah.
Right.
Up.
As
right.
she switches from edges to
Forward
edge,
is what we want.
she moves at yes. So she loses contact with the snow. Which is why she's got to use so much edging at the end of the turn, right? Because she loses contact with the snow earlier in the turn. All of a sudden,
Yeah.
I got to do something at the end of the turn to help me slow down.
It kind of what happens at the initiation. She's creating so much pressure with those high edge angles at the end of the turn that it just naturally wants to push her up and over.
Well, and that's because she has to. If she tipped her legs earlier and started shortening the legs earlier, then it would allow her to move down the hill.
Yeah.
And she would create those angles, allow her to shape the top of the turn. Instead, she moves up, allows the skis to move from this side to this side. And then the next thing she's got to do is she's got to rotate to an edge. So now she's stuck doing a rotate to a rotate to a rotate. And all the pressure's at the end of the turn because she's lost contact with the snow. And I don't mean literally, I mean metaphysically.
Yeah. Right. So which is why she, like you said, it creates that pressure, builds and builds, so it's at the end.
Builds and builds and builds at the end of the
Set
turn.
herself, if she doesn't set herself up properly at the initiation to control that speed.
And honestly, she's a pretty freaking good skier, right?
Yeah, no doubt, yeah.
This is probably somebody you're going to see here in a month, right?
Yep.
Or not even a month. It's 2 weeks.
Yeah, week and a half.
Week and a half. You're probably going to see somebody like this.
So why do you call it metronome skiing?
Metronome, because she moves up and then she just tick-tocks from side to side.
Oh,
like
yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Right?
Okay.
Because if we go back and we look at
like that.
Chris,
Yeah,
and Chris moves up. Don't get me wrong. It's basic parallels.
Yeah.
I think everybody has this misunderstanding of we're never supposed to move up. That's a lie.
Yeah, because you kind of want a little bit of lightning.
You want a little bit of lightning. It helps you, right? especially in timing. It's a tactic, like
And it
anything
makes it
else.
fun. It you relieve that pressure and everything gets to relax for a split second.
Yeah, so here's Chris, but watch how he moves into the turn, right? All that angulation happens almost instantly,
Yeah,
early in the turn.
yeah.
I mean, I would like to see it even earlier, but that's just me being nitpicky.
Yeah, but look at that snow's going to the side, like you
Yeah,
said.
it's going to the side, right? The
Yeah,
skis are redirecting him.
yeah. And he's using the shape that they're probably a pretty skinny underwaist ski, right?
Oh, sure he does. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
he likes to think of himself as a young man's Jonathan Blue,
yeah, yeah.
right? And then when you
Yeah,
watch her again, right, it's a completely different kind of skiing. I mean, she's very upright. There's a lot of up movement. He doesn't. He only moves up a little bit.
yeah. And that outside ski, you can just see the way it's bending, they're both bending about the same. Or I'd like to see that outside ski bend more,
Yeah, 100%.
which is
You can
another
look at.
fundamental though. That's ski to ski
Well, I mean,
pressure.
it is, but remember, they're all related, right? When you start talking about the fifth fundamental,
Yeah.
pressure management, you're now talking about all the fundamentals.
Mm-hmm.
You're not just talking about
When you,
that. It's not a siloed item anymore, which is why they've been so reluctant to start talking about it in level 2, because
Mhm.
how you edge and how you rotate and all those things are the reasons why we create pressure or we get rid of pressure.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's very, very
That's the
good
beauty of
about
skiing.
creating pressure when he's necessary and then getting off of it early. He doesn't wait.
Getting off of there early without extending or
Yeah.
going up and over.
Right.
Stay, think about that glass
He
ceiling.
releases his pressure. Where's his highest edge angle at? Pretty much at the apex. Yeah.
Yeah,
And then as soon as he gets past the apex,
there.
he's like, yep, I need to get off of it. Yeah.
Yep.
This is pretty freaking stellar skiing.
Yeah. I like the move pull movements too are really nice.
Yeah. Exactly. All right, cool. It is now
Okay.
9 o'clock. I'm out.
I'm gonna let you get going. Yeah, thank you so much for doing that with me.
Yeah,
That was what
I
I
know
needed.
that you had it coming up, and I wanted to make sure you had some time and practice. We kind of got stuck
thank
on.
you.
I knew that was going to happen, and even when I know it's going to happen, it happens anyway. But I knew those questions at the
Yeah.
beginning of the thing about what we're going to do this summer and what the expectations were going to derail us. So I was kind of hoping for to do breakout rooms and blah blah blah. But that's all right. I mean, today it ended up being, a little bit more about this and that and this and that. But these are all important. Definitely.
It worked for me, and I know that you've been, all these people are long-standing with you, so I know you've got to
Yeah.
keep it
So definitely
all the way to the East Coast.
definitely look at that syllabus I gave you. That's kind of, it's not really
Yeah.
a script, but those questions, those are going to help
They're
you
really
so
good.
much.
Yeah, that email was so spot on. So,
I
really
gave that a
helpful.
year ago, and everybody forgot about it. And then I go, I was trying to write a script for you guys, and wait a minute, I did this a year ago. And I found the email almost immediately. Everybody's like, oh my God, this is like magic. Well, where was it a year ago? It was all magic a year ago. So I'm going to be
You just
pounding
had to-
this in everybody every single time from now on.
No, it was really helpful. I read that and I was able to look at that skier before, we got together. So, that first guy with the baggy burgundy red coat.
Right.
But, yeah, that was a good level 2 guy to look at, and I thought with him, he was thinking about it so much, and I think we all do this, that we forget, oh, we got to start the next turn. So it's kind of
Right.
almost a traverse. And then, okay, we're turning again.
Yeah, it's
And
kind
so
of funny when you
those are pretty
watch.
big medium.
Well, yeah, when you watch somebody like Chris Caruso who just moves from turn to turn to turn, you're like, oh, that's what it's supposed to be, and it's really that simple. But we're like, oh, I got to finish this turn, and it's got to be really good. And then the next thing you know, you're stuck
Yeah.
in a traverse. You're like, oh
Exactly. And
no,
as soon as
and I should be turning by now.
and you're so right about that, because as soon as Chris hit that apex, he was already thinking about his next turn and how he had to get
Right.
back to off those edges to start the next turn.
Yeah, and,
Yeah.
and after you pass your level 2, the first thing you need to do is start thinking about turns are from apex to apex now. The transition is everything. There is no other part of the turn except the transition. And how we move from one turn to the next becomes everything. Because nobody cares when the skis are engaged anymore. They only care about how you move from one side to the other. That's all about level 3.
Yeah, I like that apex to apex.
Apex to apex.
I like to start thinking too of, instead of 3 phases of the turn, I like to start thinking too about the initiation, the shaping, and then shaping to the finish.
Right.
Like, just think of turn that way a little bit. What's going on in
Right.
those elements, instead of breaking it down to 3, what's happening from shaping or from initiation to shaping, and what's happening from shaping the apex to the finish,
Right. Yeah. Well,
helps me.
in that case, all you're doing is
think.
shifting the focus from, okay, I'm finishing the old turn. How is that setting me up for the new turn? And that's the difference between level 2 and level 3. Level 2 is like, oh, I got this turn. I'm going to do one turn and I'm going to do the next turn. No. In level 3, it's about how does this turn affect the next turn? Right? If I have a really shitty end of the one turn, what do I got to do to make it better on the next turn?
Yeah, because you're only as good as your last half turn.
Yeah, your last
Yeah.
half turn sets you up for the next turn. So everybody's like, no, 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 I can turn it anytime. No, you can't. That's why we suddenly start doing, these, what do we call them? Death by S turns. And we do lane changes and we do medium to like railroad tracks and medium radius turns. All of those turn into changes in your tempo and the timing. And you have to accommodate that. And the only way you can accommodate that is literally by thinking about apex to apex. If you start thinking, well, I got to turn a short turn into a medium radius turn, you're like, oh, nope, I'm dead. Because the next thing you know, you're making a medium short radius turn into a medium radius turn. And it's like a medium radius finish into a long, you know what I mean? And you're like, oh, that's not working at all. Nothing works like that. So you have to start thinking about that way. So, yeah.
And you can tell the skiers are thinking about it, because it's a beautiful thing to watch when they are thinking about it versus when they're not.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Well,
all right, my man.
Well, hey, I'll let you back to your things you got to do tonight. And thanks again, Chuck.
No
Help at the
problem.
end there.
No problem.
All right. Have a good
great
night.